Hey everyone, today on the podcast we have Dan Alenaddaf. He's been in the gym equipment industry for about 20 years now. He likes to stay primarily behind the scenes, but he has helped create some of the most popular home gym products in the world. He's consulted on them and then also ran companies. He's also now the founder of STEPR, where he's looking to bring the stair climber into the home gym. That's the primary topic of today's podcast. But towards the end, I have some other questions that I want to ask him. So, Dan, it's a privilege to have you on the podcast. Thanks for taking the time. Would you mind just starting off by giving us a little background on yourself?
Thanks so much, Jake. Good to be here, man. A bit of background. So, I love, first and foremost, I love training. So I think that's pretty important. I like to mix it up too. So, married, 3 kids, 40 years old. Family is priority for me, and I love. Found myself obviously over the years in the fitness category and fitness business, and been in the fitness equipment manufacturing space for about 20 years now, with distribution with different brands in over 22 countries, and that includes a few different companies, so contract manufacture for some of the world's biggest brands, and yeah, man, I just love training and living the life, and getting the kids involved and the family involved in hikes and strength, and my daughter, my 9-year-old this morning she's been doing a little bit of practicing some weightlifting because she watched a video on YouTube, and she just saw she's like, why is my skin starting to go funny here? I'm like, you earned those, babe. That's called calluses. So yeah, it's just pretty cool to, I guess that's sort of the purpose, right? So it's really lucky. I'm very grateful to be in the space and be able to do what I love as well. And, yeah.
And where is your accent? Where are you from?
Oh, I live in Australia. So, I'm Aussie, down under, got some kangaroos in the backyard. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Seriously,
So,
you have kangaroos in your backyard.
well, almost in our backyard. Yeah. Yeah, we do.
That's
We do have
cool.
some kangaroos on our other property, but not our main home. So yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
All right, well let's dive right into Stepper. Like I said, I want to talk to you about some other things later, but Stepper, when did you first think of the idea?
yeah. This was the COVID baby. So like I mentioned, I've been in the space for quite a long time now, and probably my training, like I, used to do a bit of CrossFit. I did some Olympic lifting, like 10 odd years ago now, but like was getting pretty serious, personally serious. I wasn't very good at it, but just been sort of, training changes as you get a bit older too. And so I started to get into a lot of trail running, so like longer endurance type stuff. And was super shit on inclines as well. And so during COVID, a good friend of mine, one of my good mates, he lives in Perth, which is the other side of Australia, and obviously we were all in lockdown, right? So we were going a bit crazy. Every Friday we would just jump on a Zoom for coffee catch ups, and just sort of, we're both quite entrepreneurial, and both come from the sort of fitness background, and so we were throwing ideas around, and we were both pretty non-operational in our core businesses at the time. And so I think we saw like Matt Fraser on a stair climber, which was which was pretty cool. And we've both done CrossFit in the past as well, and and still do functional fitness, bit of strength, bit of cardio, bit of functional sort of thing. And so we just kind of got down that rabbit hole. And my background is in more the innovation piece, so design, manufacturing, distribution of uh, cardio and strength equipment. So we kind of just thought, wow, we started putting the clues together. So many people on TikTok posting about booty workouts, so many women and dudes as well, and so kind of went down the rabbit hole there.
Yeah. I mean, I've personally said this for years. Like, the one thing that I missed the most was actually the stair climber from my commercial gym days.
Oh
That
yeah,
was like something I used either like as a good warm up or as a good finisher almost every time I went to the gym.
yeah,
Um, and then once you get there, it's, or once you get to the home gym, there's like just no options. They're either monstrous or huge. So I mean, okay, so you probably were thinking the same thing as I was just thinking. So what was the first thing that you actually did to make this to see if this was even possible?
yeah. I guess just a little bit of, I guess the benefit with being in the industry, like I kind of know cost prices on cost to design, manufacture, open up tooling, all of those sort of things. So we knew it was going to be pretty expensive up front because tooling costs on any plastic molding related products or injection molding is can get pretty expensive. And so we just did a little bit of R&D, deep diving on product, competitor analysis, market research, just sort of, I guess I call it basics, but it's sort of kind of done it many times over the years. Then we kind of wanted a bit of validation. So like question was, how do we validate our concept? Because, when you're chatting with a mate and you've got like a game changing idea, um, everyone thinks their idea is amazing until it's not, right? And you kind of spend so much money on it, and sometimes it's a bit of a flop. Um, so we just made sure that uh, we did some qualitative and quantitative surveys to sort of understand the market and the space better. And some of the data that came back was pretty interesting, which is now almost 2 years later, is now validated through, sell through of product. And now we've got a lot of data. But back then, I was kind of looking at it going, man, I came into this like with this idea thinking that it's going to be predominantly like females, using the product because like all the content on TikTok and Instagram or whatnot's, the TikTok booty workout on the stair climber or whatever. And you don't really see heaps of dudes on it. We all know, like you and I know, obviously there's sort of that uh, steady state, list type stuff that a lot of bodybuilders do, and they've done it for a long time. Some of the best bodybuilders around still have stair climbers, and it's almost their go-to to shred. But yeah, man, that's kind of what we did. We just did a bunch of surveys to sort of get a pulse check, and big one was the competitor analysis. There weren't any really good offerings, within the market that wasn't a commercial offering, and any of the low end sort of offerings. There were a lot of low end offerings, like a traditional stair stepper, if you remember, like the type that you get in, you know, the $15-$20 things in, Walmart and those sort of
Yeah.
places, but nothing really that hit what we wanted to do. So
Where did you do those surveys at?
yeah, there's a bunch of platforms online. that you can use. Like, there's so many survey platforms that you can just pay, $1,000 or $2,000 and sort of get 500 people filling out your survey. So we did a bit of a mix. We also had, I've also got a pretty big database from one of my other, my first business,
Gotcha.
yeah, which is a e-com, so e-com retailer, multi-brand retailer, um, and we've got a lot of, of 40 odd thousand strong customer base that we did some surveys on as well, just to get, a broad sort of pulse check as well.
And so so from that idea until like after all of the market research and the surveys, how long did that take before you're like, all right, we're going for
Yeah, we kind of just hand built a prototype uh, in my factory. It was not very good, but it did the
it?
job in terms of being able to sort of test it. So part of, I guess, to then validate. So after we did all the qual and quant surveys, that all validated that there is something here for sure. Like, people want this thing that we've got. Um, and from there, we just hand built a prototype that functioned. Uh, Definitely not saleable as it was, but it did the job in terms of video content, and we whacked a screen on there. Um, uh, and then from there, we decided, following, like, I guess the beauty of where we're at is we're in a post-pandemic time as well. Um, so we had a lot of the other connected fitness companies that had been before us to be able to sort of reference and as a benchmark and learn from. And so most of those companies started on either Kickstarter or Indiegogo and used the crowdfunding strategy. And we kind of wanted to do something similar, but we didn't want to use any of those platforms. So we just decided to partner up with Shopify and just do it ourselves. And so that was around about a 12-month process for first ideas, iterations, concepts, testing. We had, so after launch, we sort of did a pre-sale strategy, which was just put $100 down
Yep.
and, to reserve your stepper. And we kind of didn't think so many people would put deposits down. And then we sort of found ourselves realizing that, okay, all of our initial surveys stacked up, and um, probably should make this thing now. So
Yeah.
we did, yeah. So we did a handmade prototype in China. I've got some good manufacturing relationships in China over my 20 years. So I have one of our beta units behind us still. But first handmade prototype was good. We iterated, made some improvements, did a second, and then did a third, and the third is the beta. And then we made a few more iterations, which was then put to some pretty rigorous testing. So, you've got pretty detailed standards in the US and Europe. And so we wanted to be able to hit all those safety standards, electrical standards, all of that. But yeah, like literally millions of rotational tests as well, user testing. And, then we've kind of also at the same time had to start software development. And I have some previous experience with software development as well. So sort of everything kind of aligned with STEPR. Like, timing was really good. Outside of being post-pandemic and people, tanking, in the fitness space sort of
Right.
thing, the connected fitness, or seemingly a lot of companies that saw that rise, it definitely
Yeah.
made it a little bit harder in terms of building trust. And probably especially in addition to that, being an Aussie-based founder, even though I've got so much experience in the US in particular, and I spend a bit of time in the States as well. It's pretty hard to build that trust up front on a pre-sale new
Yeah.
brand that there's no reviews and no nothing. So yeah,
Well, and like I said, you're kind of a behind the scenes guy,
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So, all right. Well, and then like while you're doing this kind of pre-order stage and prototyping stage, how many employees did you have?
Uh, so it was me and my co-founder and Todd, and so we had one technically. Um, he he was head of innovate. He's head of innovation for my other company, but now is moving over to STEPR. And so he was the one that sort of handmade everything um, with our input, and so really one person to start with. Also mindful, like I've grown companies before, and still own those companies, and the mistakes that we've sort of made in the past was just throwing cash at things to get things done, and learning from that, making that mistake, and knowing that we needed to build a solid foundation, which means if we're bootstrapping and we're founder funded, which we are, we haven't raised millions of dollars, um,
Yeah.
to be able to make this, which most people would have had to have done. We've had to get a bit creative. So yeah,
Awesome. And
but
then
we've now got a team of, I think, over over 11 people, and it's growing pretty quickly, and they're all US based. So
all US.
all
Okay.
US, yeah, all US based. We've got Dan, our CEO, who was the MD at Free Motion Fitness, which is a subsidiary of iFit, one of the world's largest fitness companies. We've got Nick, our CEO, COO, who's so Indianapolis, Chicago. Um, we've got sales, service, after sales service. Yeah, all of the roles, all of our team, and pretty amazing team too. Been really, really lucky
Uh-huh.
to get some pretty heavy hitters on board, which is, I think, is why we're quite successful already with just being delivering product in market in October. So yeah, it's been
Yeah.
busy.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they see the potential in the product. Isn't
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, I imagine it wasn't too hard to nab them. Um,
It was
what
pretty
about?
hard.
It was hard.
It's.
Okay.
I think it's hard to find amazing talent that have a values alignment,
Yeah.
and they definitely bought into the vision, right? So that's where um, my role in the company is setting the vision. We've got pretty ambitious goals, and so and their roles are obviously to drive and grow day to day. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. So it took. So based off of your timeline, it sounds like it took like a year and a half or 2 years from like concept to pre-orders to
yeah,
start getting to people's houses. How
yep,
has the general reception been from people that have purchased the product?
yeah, pretty amazing. I was a bit. I mean, I know the product is pretty awesome, and I've used it every day for like the past since we had beta units and prototypes, right? So um, it's been pretty cool to see the feedback, especially people just reposting on socials. Like I got one this morning. I'll send you a bunch actually once we wrap up. But yeah, it's so cool to see people training, being motivated, loving our platform, and streaming capabilities as well. So yeah,
Yeah. And you said you thought primarily women would be interested in it.
Mm.
I'd be curious to see like and it is a premium product that comes
Yeah.
with a pretty a higher price compared to like most starter home gyms. So I would be curious to hear like if you have the data on who the first people to buy them are.
Yeah, it was quite literally almost a 50-50 split. So it started out being about 60-40 for the first 6 odd months of pre-sales, and then shifted a little bit with more men purchasing. So it really is a 50-50 split, almost perfectly down the middle. So I'm not
And
sure. I'm not sure if men, if there's dual income households and the men are purchasing or the women are purchasing. So which way it's sort of skewing. So that's something that I don't see. But the assumption is that people are both people within the household are likely to be using the
got it.
stepper. So yeah,
And, and like I would also imagine it would be a good product for like people who have their own like private personal home like personal gyms where they train people out of.
oh yeah,
Um, do
yeah,
you do you know how many people are like trainers that are purchasing these?
no idea.
No idea.
No idea. I mean, I haven't dug into the data. Um, we probably haven't done enough surveys with the early adopters yet. Um, but my assumption is there's so many personal trainers that train, especially post COVID, right? That train out of their garage gyms or in their basement gyms. And I would think that there's a pretty significant amount for sure. I definitely see that in other markets as well. So yeah,
And then earlier you mentioned like there were a lot of other connected fitness brands that like rose really high through COVID and like they're going down. Like I know I saw like I think Lululemon is shutting down their Mirror acquisition. Like I
yeah,
think they're just like shutting that down completely, or they're not going to put anything into it.
mm.
So like, what does Stepper need to do to make sure that you're still around in 10, 15, 20 years, or just what's needed to ensure success?
Yeah. Look, I think it's pretty cool to be able to watch all of these other guys, these other companies, and see where they've succeeded, see where they've failed, and learn and implement some of those learnings with Stepper. But I think to succeed, it's pretty simple. Um, just executing on the business basics, keeping good discipline, and I think part of that discipline is not raising capital too early and giving away equity and control over a company that you have a vision for. Um, we've got a pretty pretty big vision here. We want to help influence and improve lives, through Stepper, um, and then lead into experiential events too. So I think the other thing is just give people the best product that you possibly can. Um, we need to survive the growth piece because there's sort of challenges that come with resourcing up on the cash side of things, especially when you're bootstrapping. But yeah, cash flow is king, right? And so making sure that we budget accordingly, to be able to fund the growth, keep inventory, manage after sales service, really give people a great experience, and just all in all have an amazing team to just keep delivering, um, for our customers.
Okay. And can you take that one step further and maybe just say, what's the best case scenario for Stepper? And then also like, what's the worst case?
Yeah, I think. Look, I think there's no worst case if we've got the opportunity to help improve and change people's lives. Even if it's, I mean, you obviously need to sell, a certain volume of units each year to sustain the company. But I think it's just it's quite fulfilling to be able to see some of the feedback coming through already with our early adopters. I mean, best case as a brand, we want to create a movement, not a community only, just a massive movement, and have that community, you know, continue to propel itself. Not like how other companies say they want to do it. We actually want to do it. And we've got a long way to go, but the early signs are there. You know, people have been begging for different options, and part of that community, when I mention, building that up and not just being like every other brand, you know, that includes in real life events and whatnot as well. So
Gotcha. What about you mentioned just like improving people's lives. Do you like what are the benefits of like who can benefit the most from like getting a stair climber versus like somebody getting a Peloton? You know,
yeah,
is there like benefits to getting this over certain other items that you can think of?
for sure. Like, I mean, we know that there's so many benefits in it. There's so many benefits for doing any sort of exercise, right? But um, I think the benefit for stair climbing is you're getting a better core workout. You're hitting your glutes better. You know, you're hitting your hip adductors, hip extended. Yeah, sorry. I'll stick to glutes and hip muscles. Hey, yeah. Look, I think the benefits are you're hitting more muscles, especially your core, and I personally love diving deep into, you know, the longevity piece too. And I mean, I'm 40. I'm starting to think about my 50s and 60s and how I train now leading into that. And so, um, you know, as you get a bit older, I think those core muscles and leg muscles are pretty important. Um, so bang for buck, you're just getting a better return on your time investment on a stair climber with the stepper versus like a Peloton, for example, right? Where you're pretty limited. Yes, you've got off unit workouts with, you know, our stepper and Pelotons, but I mean, you're kind of you're not buying the stepper to do off the unit workouts, or you're not buying a Peloton to do yoga, right? You're buying the Peloton, or you're buying the stepper to
Yeah.
do that intended function, you know, climbing stairs. So I personally think bang for buck, it's just a better return on your time investment, higher calorie burn, and you know, better targeted activation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, like I get into it quicker. Like I don't know,
Mm.
it just hits quicker.
Yeah.
Which is just more efficient. Yeah. What about, you kind of talked about you started doing some market research earlier and like everything was commercial. Why don't you think anybody had done this before? And like also like keeping in mind that we had connected rowers, we had connected bikes, we had connected yeah, we had basically everything else had been already gone. Like we had connected mirrors, for example, but no
Yeah.
stair climber. Why don't you think anybody attacked this yet?
Um, look, it's hard to do, right? It's really hard. And you mentioned mirrors, man. I cannot believe the mirror fitness market, but yeah, that just blows my mind, right? Anyway, look, it's pretty difficult to do. So not only, and that's kind of why I really liked it as well. So I knew that it was going to be hard, but it kind of lent into, you know, leaning into my strengths and my experience in manufacturing and software, um, you know, has been able to, you know, deliver a really cool product up front for customers. And I don't think anybody else would have been able to do it in such a short period of time as well. So we've really pushed it pretty hard to get this to market quickly. Um, yeah, you look at, product development timelines for most companies, even ones that are funded with, hundreds of millions of dollars, they still take 2 to 3 years to get a product to market. It's way too long, and by that stage, your competitors have already got there. So yeah, just to answer your question, it's bloody hard to
So,
get something
yeah,
like this to market.
let me ask you then why, like, to like a dummy like me who has no idea what it takes, it just seems like, well, why don't you just make everything a little bit smaller and put it in a
Yeah.
garage? What can you explain why it's so hard? And then also like, what was what was the hardest part? Was it like trying to figure out how to make it compact, or was it hard to like just make it um, connect to a screen and also have Netflix and Spotify and YouTube TV on there as well? Like,
Yeah.
what made it so
Like quite literally
difficult?
everything, Jake. Like all the way from, so when just concept design, you got to think about how many you can fit into a container, because don't forget, during COVID, our shipping costs like blew up ridiculously. Like we were paying, $20,000 for a container at one stage, right? Like they were getting pretty expensive. And that was sort of during the time that we were developing as well, right? So we were thinking we need to be compact, we need to fit into homes, we need to, what about the wear and tear? Like, do we go with a chain drive? Is there a better option? How do we get it quiet? What about the wear and tear on the stairs? What about sweat? Like people drench this unit. Like
Yeah.
people, there's sweat dripping, right? Our coaches were,
Yes.
man, I love watching some of our coaches, some of the on-demand ones. Like they're dripping with sweat all over there's like sweat dropping on the sides, and it's pretty cool to see them even struggle on the stepper. Like, because initially we were thinking, are people really going to get a good workout with the stairs at a 5 inch step height? And yeah, like you get a killer workout, and if it's too easy, throw a weight vest on and see how you go there, or a go ruck, right? Um, so all the way through from design, manufacturing, logistics, software development, all of the quality, all the QA testing with every part of our software development. So it's one thing to get on-demand workouts, and then you got to think about recording them and the content piece. Then what about Netflix and streaming platforms, and how does that then affect the UI and the operation on stepping? Um, and we've got a few patented features within our unit too. So we're releasing a few things. We haven't released them yet, but that'll come with some updates over the coming months. Um, like step sync, which you can step at the same speed as the coach. It auto adjusts. So things like all of that sort
Pretty
of
cool.
stuff. Yeah, it's difficult. And if you don't have a massive team, like I would assume Peloton, could pull something like this off a lot easier and quicker potentially if they threw a lot of money at it because they've got a team. But yeah, but I think that's the fun part of it, is being able to do it without giving away, your company, giving away control, and yeah, it's just so much more rewarding at the end.
Yeah. Can you give like a current update as to like what you get if you get the stepper today? Where is it at? And then maybe like a little timeline of what's to come.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I mean, where it's at is we've got so you can, I call it free step, so you can just get on and go, press your free step button. You can you've got streaming options at the moment, so there's Netflix, Spotify. Every roughly a week to two, we're going to be dropping new streaming options. So eventually there'll be Disney Plus, YouTube, Hulu. We're looking at sports streaming platforms as well. So that's all coming. We've got our initial content is a mix of on-demand classes and scenic workouts, and so HIIT sessions or uh, list sessions, so longer sort of steady state stuff. And then we've also got off the unit workouts, so we've got band attachments throughout the whole stepper, and that allows a combination of strength and sort of mobility workouts that we've got. And scenic sessions are sort of out in nature. So it's more UGC style, which I really want to lean into, and that's part of the vision is leaning into creators globally, so you can do Everest or climb mountains in South America or wherever you want, right? So that's sort of on the roadmap. What we're doing for the first few months is just looking at the data and just seeing what do people want, and then we're going to lean into more of what our early adopters are asking for.
Gotcha. Well, I just got it today. I did about an hour. I'll tell you the things that I would like to see. So kind of a live feedback. I think the number one thing that I'd like to see is some sort of like leaderboard, like some daily challenge. That would be cool. I would love to see how I like stack up compared to most others. And then I don't think I would do like a live class every day, but a live class would be cool to do every once in a while as well.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think live classes, as I'm thinking about it, that sounds like an intense thing to try and collaborate and like get everybody on the same screen. But I think those were the first things that kind of came to my mind. But
yeah,
overall,
so we're definitely working on the leaderboard piece. And because people want to benchmark, right? Like we've got milestones that we're working on that'll be launched soon. So sort of, you get rewards. So one, you can step to the moon, for example, like things like that, or 50,000 steps. So there's that piece. The live classes is a bit harder to do, and that will. Who knows what the future holds? It could be on the roadmap. Not too sure yet. Depends. Depends how much the our user base wants it. But the other things that we've got on the roadmap is so we really want. I mentioned earlier, we really want to bring community, like a true community, to STEPR, right? And we want to build it around that. And so we want to do experiential events, in real life events around the US. We're probably going to be starting that in 2024. Not sure exactly when yet, but so imagine stepping at your favorite stadium. It could be, could be Yankee Stadium, right? For example. So we're planning to hold stepper events at stadiums around the US and have 10,000 odd people attending these events, and it also gives to really bring that community and DJ in the middle, some pretty cool some cool experiences like that is what we're planning to really bring the existing community in, but also introduce stepper to everybody who loves climbing stairs, because it's actually a really big community already, the traditional sort of stair climbing space.
Is there? I didn't know that.
It's
What does that look like?
It's pretty big. Yeah, people love climbing stairwells in buildings and stuff like that. Like I've done a bunch. Yeah.
When I used to work in larger corporate offices, I definitely did just like randomly walk the stairs because I hated just like sitting at my desk the whole time. So I can definitely see people like doing that every day, just climbing buildings.
Yeah. Get in their morning shred in, have your espresso, hit a 70 flights of stairs.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I think that was a pretty good summary of how Stepper got to where it's at and where you think it can go. Like I said, would love to ask you some other questions, just since you have so much industry experience. And I think
Yeah, man.
a
Sure.
lot of I ask this question a lot, but I don't think it's with anybody who's been in it as long as you have. It's more like how has it changed? How has the home gym industry changed since COVID? But I'd be curious to hear, like, how have you seen in the last 20 years or so? How have you seen the home gym industry change?
Yeah. Look, I've kind of seen it over the past 40, well, almost, I'm 40, but almost 40 years. My parents used to own sports stores, like kind of like a Dick's Sporting Goods, if you want to imagine that.
Yeah.
Here in Australia, they had five or six of them, and I used to just they made me work in them, and they used to. That's kind of how I ended up in the gym equipment space. They used to manufacture all of their products, their fitness products in Taiwan at the time, and I'll send you some pictures afterwards. But it was my birthday like this month, and my mum gave me a folder with all the catalogs in it, and it had all the fitness sort of ads. And man, nothing has changed. Like I'll send it to you. This is like 35 years ago. Um, Nothing's changed. Like everything is just shinier and cooler and bigger and more trendy in the design. But like it used to be all white powder coat and tube sizes were tiny because it did the job, and and it still would do the job. But people have just gone bigger and matte black powder coating, like all the cool
Gotcha.
stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, I follow a bunch of guys on socials that showed equipment, over the past 100 years and whatnot, and it's not changed, and that's kind of what I loved about the stair climbing category too. Like if you look back historically, stair climbers was the first, or I think they used to call it what did they call it, the treadmill. So tread mill, because it was quite literally a mill it was used in prisons, and so they would have to step. And I'm sure you know this already, but they would have to step on each plank as it rotated. So that's kind of uh, we've kind of created a torture device that people are paying for now, right? How cool. Um, but yeah, it's probably one of the longest standing forms of gym equipment. Um, Got revived, back in the Stairmaster days. Like they're like 40 odd years ago. It was one of the most popular forms of cardio, and then sort of treadmills came and took over. But man, they're so boring. So we're kind of here to bring it back. So
Well, what about the home gym industry in general?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
um,
I mean,
yeah.
you mean just, it's just everyone just kind of still does the same movements and stuff. It's just nicer stuff.
I mean, I think it's very much very similar movements. I think there's a lot more technicality now in terms of how to achieve the desired outcome in a more efficient manner now, just with
Mhm.
the development of being able to measure better with things like everything that we wear these days. Um, but yeah, I still think it's uh, just with the analogy, like taking. I love the analogy of just take the stairs, right, or always take the stairs, which is kind of our analogy for health and fitness, meaning just do the hard shit, do it often. You know, yeah, you don't necessarily need fancy equipment, but it does make it easier. So I guess the difference between you know how it used to be or how it is now is the barrier to being able to put it in your home is a lot lower. So, you know, products like the STEPR are designed to fit in a super small space to be able to, you know, achieve what you want to do
Gotcha.
easier. So,
Got it.
yeah.
What about you said you earlier 22 different countries you've done work in? I think that's how you phrased it. How does America compare to the rest of the world?
Yeah. Look, I think everything always does better in the US, just bigger density. You know, the dollar is quite a big contributor, dollar strong, good combined incomes, good distribution channels. Like it's easy to get product from port to warehouse to customer. Um, you know, retail, bricks and mortar, like no matter what, the barrier to get fit is easier. Like there's so many gyms, you know, everywhere you go, there's a gym at some kind of a gym or a gym equipment store. Um, Influencers are huge, which, you know, influence majority as well, especially, you know, um, especially you, like you're a huge influence in the home gym community, right? And so, you know, genuine, honest reviews, recommendations that people look to, and you don't really get that in other countries. I see that a lot of, you know, Europeans and Aussies look to the US, but it's certainly Europe's pretty good too. It's a great market there. Australia's good. It's certainly the dollar is a big contributor. Like Latin America's, you know, it's just not easily accessible if you don't earn really good money. So and it's just then in that case, it's a lot easier to just go to a gym in those areas. Yeah.
Um, uh, um, Changes since COVID. So, have you what is the trend that you've seen? Obviously, we saw a trend during COVID, um, upwards in the home
Yeah.
gym with the
Yeah.
home gym equipment, and it's probably the future.
I think COVID showed a lot of people that they could train in their home gyms, like set up a home gym. I think it showed them that it was a lot more convenient to be able to do that. And I think they realized that they get, you know, in some cases 30 to 60 minutes of their time back, which, you know, if you're driving to the gym and back and all that, it's just takes time out of your day if you've got a young family. Um, you know, home gyms, garage gym is the way to go, right? And I don't see it going backwards. I think there's a lot of I think gyms are always going to be here. I think just the whole category itself is growing, and it will continue to grow significantly bigger over time. You know, and predominantly because I think our kids influence. So anyone my age who may have a couple kids, you know, they're seeing us train, and you know, monkey see, monkey do, right? Like we're kind of influencing them from a much younger age, which we didn't always like. I definitely didn't necessarily have that growing up. You know, so I think they're just going to, you know, the kids now are growing up with just you don't go to the gym, that's weird, or
Yeah.
you don't work out, that's strange. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you do that? So yeah, I think it's awesome, and it's only, you know, getting bigger and bigger. Yeah.
Cool. What about so? I love discussing business and product ideas on this podcast. You're clearly pretty busy with one, and others as well, I'm sure. But would love to hear if you have any business ideas or product ideas for listeners that you don't plan on doing.
Oh man. Jeez. I have crazy ideas all the time. I don't know if they're good or not. um, yeah, I think I just I don't know. Not
Sorry, that'd be fun.
necessarily a specific idea, but just there's so many ideas all the time, right? Yeah, I think the other morning I was drinking. I had some coconut water after a workout, and then I was like, man, there's so much sugar in here. It's natural sugar. I wonder if anyone makes a zero coconut water, 0 calorie, zero sugar
Uh-huh.
coconut water. I don't know, like this.
Well,
It's probably a terrible idea, but I have random ideas all the time.
do
So
you have like, is that just like how your mind works? You're just always kind of thinking for ideas, or like if you had any tips for somebody who wants to get their motor rolling for ideas, do you have any of those?
I think just
Be curious.
solve the problem for yourself. So if there's a problem, try and solve it for yourself. And if you can solve the problem for yourself, then it's probably something that a lot of other people are going to uh, have that problem of. And, and then is there a competitive advantage around your idea that you can build a moat around? A moat being sort of, back in medieval days where, you've got a moat to protect the castle. So that kind of, build that around your idea or your business, patents, software, you know, manufacturing, all that sort of stuff. And just do it. Like, if it all stacks up and you're leaning into your strengths, and I mean, some of the craziest ideas have gone on to be, worth billions of dollars too, right? So, and they all start somewhere. They all start with a crazy idea. So just do crazy things.
Last question. What separates just a regular good fitness brand from a great fitness brand?
Yeah. Building a great community, some great innovation, competitive edge, staying ahead of the curve, spot the trends early. Um, you know, you've got early adopters and early majority trends. So, hitting it early enough to be able to, even, if you hit it at the right stage, and your brand doesn't require a lot of education, you see the stepper and it's a stair climber, right? Like, it's not too hard. It's got stairs on it. People know how to climb stairs. So it doesn't require a level of education that's pretty expensive, which is expensive to acquire those customers. Which is why so many people raise so much capital to educate customers to sell their product, right? So, making sure that you're getting a great team around you, because nothing gets built without a great team. I cannot take on everything, and the only reason why STEPR is so successful so early on is because we've been lucky enough to have some amazing humans around us to help execute on the vision. So yeah, pretty grateful on that.
Awesome. Well, that's all I got. Anything
Yeah, man.
else you want to say before we close it?
Buy a stepper.
Buy a stepper.
Get a stepper.
Yeah, get a
Just
stepper.
get stepping.
Well,
Always take the stairs.
always take the stairs.
Always take the
Is
stairs,
that your
man.
slogan? Is that the
Yeah,
slogan?
always take the stairs, Jake, because life is too short to not take the stairs every day. I think it's my analogy of life, of just like, do the thing that's a little bit harder, that's going to be more beneficial for you, because that's really where you move ahead in life and get a you know
I like it.
better mental health, better physical body, like, you just feel good. So yeah, man. So get on the
Well,
stepper, dude. Let's go.
get on the stepper. All right. Well, dude, thanks again
I'm gonna
for
go have a
taking.
step session now. So yeah, I'm getting on it.
Cool. Well, yeah, we're on like opposite time zones. So, yeah, thanks again for taking the time. Always great to chat, and we'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate